Yorkshire tea. Brilliant. Welcome to Thrive in Sales, the sales training and thriving podcast. Hi, I'm Neeraj. I'm an interactive sales trainer and one-to-one coach. I get results for small businesses and deliver training to large corporates like Barclays, NatWest, Google, and Sainsbury's. I'm the author of 2 Amazon best-selling books.
And I'm Keith. I've sold technology into investment banks throughout my sales career, and I sales-led one of the largest ever software outsourcing deals worth over $1 billion. I'm a sales coach and visiting lecturer in professional selling at Aston Business School.
Every week we'll be sharing proven strategies to help you generate more sales. Plus we'll bring well-being experts onto the show to give you the knowledge, strategies, and takeaways you need to thrive in sales. Now this week's topic is IKIGAI. Yep, you've heard it right. It is IKIGAI, and you're going to find out very shortly how important this is. And our guest is Sarah Setterfield. Now, Sarah is the Director of Impact for Success. She energizes individuals, teams, and organizations to discover their difference, brilliance, and resilience. Sarah offers high engaging, dynamic, and informative training sessions and keynote talks to raise these skills. I saw Sarah speak about 18 months ago, and I thought she was outstanding. And 18 months ago, I thought, how do I get a chance to interview her or hear her speak? And here we are today. Sarah, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for asking me. Where was it you heard, or what was it you heard me speak on 18 months ago, Neeraj?
Milton Keynes College. That was the day you gave a talk. We had some breakout sessions. I think Jane Horridge was there.
Yeah, that was on networking.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that. And you were so confident. And you had a few people in the room who were being very disruptive at the back. I'm not going to name names. And you dealt with it so well. I was really impressed.
Thank you. Stroppy and midlife is quite good for that.
Well, look, today's subject's very interesting. So every week we always choose a sales subject that people are kind of challenged with or struggled with. And this week you came up with the sales subject, IKIGAI. Now, can you explain to us what IKIGAI is and why it's important we understand it?
Yeah, absolutely. So what I'm going to do is, for those who are watching, I'm going to give you some visuals to have a look at. And those who are listening, I will do my best to describe. So IKIGAI, pronounced IKIGAI, but with the spelling IKIGAI. There is not a direct translation for it, but loosely it is the Japanese for reason for being. So it's about what gives you the happiest and most contented life. There are some areas of Japan where people have unbelievably long lives, and they put this down to IKIGAI. The more content we are, the more resilient we are. The more resilient we are, the more we have the ability to bounce. The more we have the ability to bounce, the more creative we tend to be. So when we have situations like 2020, the year that hopefully will soon be forgotten, it gives us the ability to think outside the box, which I think is something that a lot of people are needing at the moment. The world looks very different. We hear this phrase new normal, but actually this new normal, it's a current normal. It's changing weekly, if not daily. So IKIGAI gives us the ability to go back to our nucleus and think about what makes us tick, what makes us happy, and moreover, what we can earn money as a result of those.
I love that. And actually, as you were explaining about IKIGAI, I think some of us, particularly those who've been through midlife, have explored that on more than one occasion. And in particular in sales, where you have to kind of make your own way in sales. It's an unusually self-starting profession. What are you all about? What's the point of view? What do you stand for? comes through in everything you say and do about your role. And I'm sure Ikigai is an all-encompassing dynamic, Sarah, for how you live your life. Have I got that right?
Yeah, so how you live your life will come as a result of that. But we're all looking for, basic needs of a human being is to feel valued and appreciated, to be able to make a difference, and to know that you are part of something bigger than you. Now, if that's not a great way to look at how you sell yourself, your services, or your product, I don't know what is, because in sales, we're always talking about looking for the pain points. But to start with, I think you need to look at what are the pain relievers that I can offer, because that narrows down. So you're starting to look in avenues to sell of people who have the pain that you've got the pain reliever for. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Otherwise, we tend to think too big that, well, I can sell here, 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 and here. No, we all have a tribe. And part of finding your tribe is to know the tribe that you belong to. So shall I show you some of the elements of Ikigai and talk them through?
Yeah.
So
yes, please do.
Ikigai is about 4 areas. So what I have on my screen are 4 overlapping circles. Circle number 1 is about what you love. So you sit down and you just write a list. What do I love doing? Now, that might be sitting in the garden. That might be love of learning. That might be photography. It might be dog walking. We're talking about life here. And in every 24 hours, there is work and personal time. So what do you love? The second question, the second circle, is what you're good at. So what am I good at? And you list all of those things. The third circle is what can you be paid for? So you can look back retrospectively and look at what you've been paid for in the past. You could think future-wise, what could I be paid for in the future? And then the final circle is what the world needs. So there's an interesting one, because in 2020, I think we've got a very different list as to what the world needs right now. Those of us that have worked in the well-being and resilience field have maybe found it quite difficult in the past to convince organisations that this is an important part of their strategy for engagement and performance. But midway through 2020, this is the top of the agenda for organisations. Crikey, how can we make sure that our people are feeling well enough mentally, physically, to be able to do their job? So those are the 4 core questions. Now, I said at the beginning, these are 4 overlapping circles. So where we have overlaps, things then appear. So what you love and what you're good at, the overlapping elements that appear in both of those are your passion. What you're good at and what you can be paid for. Sorry, Niraj, did you have a question?
No, I was going, sorry.
You were having an aha moment.
I was going, yes.
What you're good at and what you can be paid for is your profession. What the world needs and what you can be paid for is your vocation. And what you love and what the world needs becomes your mission. Now, we hear people, don't we, talking about, oh, I'm passionate about, or my mission is, or people talking about my job. So you start to realize there's no passion there. I'm just good at something that I've managed to get paid for. So Ikigai is about finding the elements that appear in all 4 of those circles, so that you are able to hone in on doing something that you love, that you're good at, that you can be paid for, and is something the world needs. Now, I love this as a structure for thinking about how you're going to sell, whether it's yourself or whether it's your products or services.
That's a really great point. And I would imagine that a lot of people are going to be, I'm going to call it navel gazing at the moment, are really considering their options and it's not just the UK. We have listeners from all over the world who will be going through all kinds of different thought processes and in various stages of their careers, some of whom, unfortunately, careers will have ended in the last 3 or 4 months, and they're going to be thinking about, what is it I'm going through? So I love this structure as almost a reboot of self, of profession, of personal life, to really get us thinking about what do we really stand for in the world, and how do we capture those elements? So this is a really timely conversation. So Sarah, thank you so much.
No, you are most welcome.
Getting loads from this.
Yeah, no, you're most welcome. And I think, picking up on the point you just said, that there's going to be a lot of change for people, I foresee 2 big changes that will be coming. There will be those people who will be made redundant as a result of COVID and the shrinking of the economy. Some of those will leave with a big wad of cash, and some of those will be made redundant with a little bit. But I think what lockdown has done for an awful lot of people, and the working from home element of lockdown, is it's made people really look at what feeds their soul. If they've been used to getting up at 5 in the morning and commuting for 2 hours to get to the office to work from 9 till 5, and then doing that same 2-hour commute in reverse, and now they've been able to work just as effectively at home, I think there will be some people who will decide off their own bat to leave their job and either do something on their own or want to work for an organisation that will allow greater flexibility in terms of agile working. It's going to be interesting to see what companies who working from home has suited them for the last 6 months, what they then do post this element of, we all need to keep apart from one another and not have too many in the office. But also, every time there is a recession and there are redundancies, that's a real surge time that we see people set up their own businesses. I run a session and have been running a session. I designed a lot of well-being engagement sessions for my clients during the COVID lockdown that could be delivered in 90, 120 minutes that address absolutely the well-being. And one of them was lost and found. In lockdown, what have you lost? Now let's turn round. What have you found? And I do think there will be a lot of people who have found that they want to work in a different organisation, they want to work a different way, or they want to work for themselves. They've realised that security isn't guaranteed, even if somebody else puts the money into your bank account at the end of every month. And therefore, maybe freedom is more attractive than pseudo security.
I think you brought up so many good points here. I literally have got about an A4 page of just notes at the moment. I really have. And you brought up so many important things regarding mindset, regarding mind, resilience, thinking, career. We've covered so many incredible topics. I'm just going to move it to sales for 1 second, because you mentioned 2 things. One was making a difference. And, you know, people do want to make a difference in this world. And I think in sales, not enough of us think, how do we make a difference? A lot of people, Sarah and Keith, especially right now, are thinking, how do I pay the bills? How do I pay the mortgages, man? I'm not going to deny it. It is at the back of my head a lot, even though I've got my one-to-one coaching, I got my mastermind group, I got my book royalties. I'm just about breaking even. I'm not making huge profit. So unfortunately, from time to time, it does come up at the back of my head. And so sometimes I am thinking about the deal, but you should always be thinking of making a difference to your customer, because that's so important. And also the second thing is, so many of my clients are business owners, and so many of their staff have come back to work and their staff aren't happy.
Yeah.
Because they know that over the last 3 to 6 months, their lives have changed. And this is not what they want to do. There was a brilliant post yesterday on LinkedIn from a lady who works for Virgin Atlantic. And she was saying, I spent 3 hours traveling today. I didn't see my daughter when I woke up. I missed family dinners tonight. I don't see the point. Why can't we just work from home? Why do I have to go into the office? And you brought up a point here, which I think is going to affect so many business owners and so many people going forward.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. And I think from my perspective, I mean, I'm a marketing background. I was a marketing director until 20 years ago. So I'm more marketing than sales. But actually, they're the flip side of the same coin. And I think where we can make a difference to our clients, our prospects, our targets, our suspects, however you are categorizing them, is to do two things. Number one is to be empathetic, and number two is to be curious. I think we need to understand where they are, making no attempts to sell to people. But I think empathy and curiosity create a magnet for people, that at the point they are ready to buy something, they remember those that were there.
Yeah, absolutely. We've covered this a couple of times on the show before about, is it okay to sell during COVID-19? And what's and I think it is okay. But well, going back to the grassroots of selling, I believe that closing deals, if you like, which is where sales really takes place, it's just a natural conclusion to a highly productive conversation. It should be a natural consequence of having a conversation or an engagement with a customer or potential customer like that. There's none of this, which is what we saw perhaps 30 years ago, 75 different ways to close a deal, and and bulldozing your way through. Those days are over. Buyers are much more nuanced and sophisticated these days, and the sales profession needs to keep up. And that intellectual curiosity about asking more questions and monetizing problems and everything that goes with that actually goes hand in hand with, how am I making a difference to this customer as well?
Yeah,
I love that concept.
Yeah, absolutely. And the most desired attribute that you can have and display is enthusiasm. It is, particularly when things are going wrong in the world, it is what people are most attracted to. So how can you be enthusiastic about what you do and what you feel without using sales words? Because again, you'll attract people who want some of that energy as well in terms of their solution. But yeah, I've not attempted to do any selling during lockdown. Where I went into, where can I make a difference, and let's give it away for free. So I started pouring, Niraj and I have had the conversation that on the 23rd of March, when lockdown happened, my calendar emptied and I lost every penny of income from my calendar. I run a training business. My training is all face-to-face. I love people. I love being in a room with people. I love taking along bags of sweets and boxes of toys. I love it being a dynamic and interactive experience. Never had any desire whatsoever to do virtual training. But I spent 2 months signing up for every free webinar I could to see the good, the bad, and the ugly of virtual delivery. I put my big girl pants on and offered some free sessions and had a go. I put huge number of hours into learning how to design infographics and on making my PowerPoint slides better, because I thought rather than sitting in tears, which is what I did for the first 2 weeks, I cried daily of what I felt I'd lost. And then I started putting out infographics with free advice to people around resilience, managing teams remotely if suddenly you're a manager and you're not seeing your people. And what happened is the gift of doing that, I had people contact me and said, I've seen this, what could you do? This is the problem we've got. And so, it's back into that, build it and they will come. I am a great believer in that. I'm a huge believer in give, because you will give what some people want and then ask you to provide them with the exchange of money.
Yeah, I think that's a very, very good point. I mean, the first few weeks of lockdown, I did exactly the same thing. I said to everybody, look, we're going through a tough time right now. How can I help you? That's it. And you saw my LinkedIn post as well. I spent 2 weeks helping all my friends whose businesses had shut down, especially the high street shops. I promoted charities like mad, like Will and Hospice, because all their shops shut down. The money going to charities at the moment has dropped by almost 70%. Which is shocking. So I just helped as many people as I could. And the people who I'd spent many months talking to in January and February saw what I was doing. And a few of them approached me and went, you know what, we haven't got as much money as we'd like, but can we talk about coaching? So I ended up picking up business through karma, goodwill, call it what you like. Now, in all fairness, probably come June, July, I started selling a lot more. And certainly in July, I spent almost an entire week just selling my mastermind group. It's the first high ticket thing I sold, but I had to do that because I'm a business owner. I still have expenses, a mortgage to pay, a business to run. So I still believe it's okay to sell, but I do believe you have to give massive value up front. That is absolutely vital. Well, look, Sarah, what's a really important part of our show is that we do a wrap up every week, because it's not just the great advice that we're lucky enough to have from experts like yourself. It's the fact that what action you're going to take, because that's absolutely key. And I've written down some really, really big points here about, what you love, what you are good at, what can you be paid for, and what the world needs. Those are the 4 circles, and that overlaps into passion, mission, profession, and vocation. Think about in life what makes you tick. Think about what makes you happy. Ikigai is a reason for being. It's a contented life. The more content we are, the more resilient we are. I love that because it's so true. And the final 3 things you mentioned were about feeling appreciated, and it's about making a big difference and knowing there is something bigger than you. That's a very Tony Robbins thing. I love that. Keith, what I'm sure I missed out a few points there because I was just in awe of what Sarah was saying. What else can add? Sorry, go ahead, Sarah.
I was just going to interrupt. I was going to say, I've got a couple of slides that if I show you very quickly, I'll then send you the text, because if you're going to do a write-up, you can put these in because there are some important questions in it. So if we look at 4 areas, here are 3 questions for what do I love? What do I never get bored of doing? What activities make me lose track of time? When do I feel at my happiest? So they're great prompts for the what do I love. What am I good at? What skills do I like spending time getting better at? So where am I happy to put in effort? What do people come to me for? What comes naturally to me? What can I get paid for? What have you been paid for before? What would I be doing if I wasn't in my current job? I think that's a great question. What do people need and what would they pay for it? Would they pay for it? And then finally, what does the world need? What do people need right now? How can I contribute positively to those needs? And what problems in society would I like to solve? Once you've answered those questions, and before I go on, I see you're taking a photograph, Niraj.
I love that. It's so good.
I'll send you these slides so that you can take stuff off it. This is what you should then do. Analyze your workings. Get yourself a piece of paper, 3 columns. Column 1 is, what's the activity or the theme called that you've put in the boxes? Column 2, so in the middle, is which circles does each theme appear in? So I've put in here, for example, if the activity was teaching, which circles does it appear in? So it appears in what I love, what I'm good at, and what the world needs. But it doesn't appear in, so that's the third column, what's missing. It doesn't appear in what I can be paid for. So at that point, you can either discount it, or you can say, what could I do to make it something that I could get paid for? But this is a really good way of analysing it to get to your Ikigai, because to go from the 4 circles to finding your Ikigai is not a simple process. It will keep you awake for many a night, and I urge everybody to go to bed with a pad and a pen. But what I can promise you is that when you get to that point, you are, and the picture I've put on the screen now is of a young boy running through a crop field.
Yeah.
We all remember those halcyon days, don't we, when we were children? So we're on this planet for a short time. We want it to be a happy life, getting paid for what we love doing and making a difference along the way.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much for that, Sarah. Keith, is there anything else you want to add before we go?
Yeah, I love that. You've summed that up nicely. The takeaway line for me that I've written down is what feeds your soul. I love that as a sentence, and I shall spend much time reflecting on that as we go forward later today. Love that. Thank you, Sarah.
Good. No, you're more than welcome.
Sarah, what's the best way for our listeners to get hold of you then?
I'd like to say find me on a beach in Barbados at the moment. The reality is they can either connect with me on LinkedIn, or they can email me at Sarah, S-A-R-A-H, at impactforsuccess.com. And the 4 in the middle is a numeric 4, impact4success.com.
Lovely. Sarah at impactforsuccess.com. Well, look, thank you so much for being on our show, Sarah. You gave us just absolute, I was going to say minefield, but it's actually a good minefield of just wonderful information. So if you have any other questions or points you want to raise in future shows, or if you want to hire Neeraj and Keith for sales training, please email us at hello@thriveinsales.com. We'd love to hear from you. Also, remember to subscribe so you don't miss an episode.
This episode is brought to you by Monkey Pants Productions, who are a podcast production company helping businesses enter the world of podcasting through bespoke workshops and professional standard recordings. For more information, email pete@monkeypantsproductions.co.uk.
Now, Keith and I are both massive fans of the TV show Frasier. So until next week, we're both wishing you good sales, mental health. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you.